Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today we've got a wild, genuinely fascinating premise lined up for you. We're going to bridge the ancient, dust-filled battlefield of the Bhagavad Gita directly with the sterile whiteboards of modern quantum physics. And we're doing it by looking at Chapter 13 through the lens of a classic, really beautiful story meant for kids, the Salt Doll. But trust me, the implications of this simple story stretch to the absolute edges of our universe.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. It's pretty mind-blowing, but some of the greatest minds in modern science, literally the founding fathers of quantum mechanics, were profoundly obsessed with these 2,000-year-old Eastern texts. Even Albert Einstein famously grappled with what he called spooky action at a distance, trying to make sense of how the universe connects at a fundamental level. Well, it turns out ancient mystics were pondering those exact same mysteries.
All right, Section 1, The Salt Doll's Quest. To really wrap our heads around these heavy philosophical concepts, we're going to use our narrative anchor, that magical children's parable I mentioned. So picture a small doll made entirely of salt. She's composed of just the absolute simplest elements, kind of like how we are made of the Earth's basic matter, right? But despite her simple physical form, she has this profound, burning curiosity about the world around her. So she decides to go on this massive journey, walking right to the very edge of the land. Finally, she reaches the shore. She looks out at this vast, endless water, and she asks one ultimate question. How deep is the ocean? That question right there is what kicks off her whole quest. And honestly, it perfectly captures humanity's own relentless desire to understand the infinite universe. It's literally the exact same question driving both ancient sages and today's modern scientists. Moving on to Section 2, The Field and the Knower. Let's just pause her journey for a second, right before she actually touches the water. We need to unpack the exact mechanics of her world using Chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita. This chapter introduces two main concepts, kshetra, which means the field, and kshetrajana, the knower of the field. The easiest way to think about this in the modern world, think of the field as computer hardware. It's our physical body, the 5 elements, our ego, our senses. The knower, on the other hand, is the software. It's the soul, the pure observer, that runs the system but isn't the physical machine itself. So how is this hardware actually shaped? Well, the Buddha taught that all we are is the result of what we have thought. Think of it like a farmer sowing seeds in a field. The thoughts and actions we plant in our physical hardware literally dictate our reality. If we plant good thoughts, we harvest a good destiny. We are essentially the programmers of our own hardware. Which brings us to Section 3, Hardware, Software, and Screens. If our salt doll is the hardware and her consciousness is the software, what exactly is the environment she's walking through? This is where the concept of Maya comes in. Maya is basically the force that presents the material world to us as solid and diverse, completely hiding the ultimate unified reality underneath. So the salt doll's physical journey to the ocean is actually happening within this projected illusory material world. It's incredibly convincing, almost like getting totally lost in an amazing movie. Imagine you're sitting in a pitch-black movie theater. You're completely absorbed in the characters and the action on the screen. But what happens when the movie stops? Suddenly, the illusion breaks, and you realize there was just an invisible, blank screen supporting that entire story all along. In this ancient philosophy, the ultimate consciousness, Brahman, is that invisible screen. It's the neutral, unchanging backdrop that supports the whole movie of our lives. All right, Section 4, The Physics of the Soul. As the salt doll steps closer to those crashing waves, we're going to translate her soul's journey into the strict mathematical laws of a modern physics lab. And this is where it gets crazy. The ancient understanding of the soul maps almost perfectly onto the 3 modern laws of thermodynamics. Look at step 1. The first law says energy is never destroyed, only transformed. That is exactly like the eternal Atman, or soul, shifting forms. Step 2. The second law introduces entropy, or chaos, which maps flawlessly to karma and our mental agitation. And step 3, the third law states that as a system reaches absolute zero, entropy hits an absolute minimum, creating perfect order. This completely mirrors moksha, or ultimate spiritual liberation. To really understand that second step, mental entropy, think of a deeply uncleaned teenager's bedroom. Left alone, it naturally just drifts into absolute chaos and disorder, right? Well, our minds act the exact same way. When we endlessly worry about things totally outside our control, we generate massive amounts of mental entropy. We're literally burning through our internal energy, but getting absolutely zero productive forward movement. And that brilliantly illustrates the goal of the third law, moksha. Chapter 13 teaches us to strive for a state of zero mental entropy,
called samavatam, or perfect equanimity. Imagine boiling hot coffee inside a really high-quality thermos during a freezing, howling blizzard. It literally doesn't matter what chaotic storm is raging outside, the inside remains completely stable and undisturbed. That is perfect mental equilibrium.
Section 5. Melting into the ocean.
So this brings us to the magical climax of our story. The salt doll finally takes a step into the endless rolling waves to measure just how deep the ocean truly is. But the moment she steps into the water, she begins to dissolve. The salt doll melts, losing her physical form entirely. Now, she doesn't die. Actually, scratch that. It's more like she becomes entirely one with the ocean. The beautiful lesson for kids and adults alike here is that you cannot simply stand on the outside and measure the creator. To truly understand the boundless, infinite universe, the individual knower must merge with it.
And this ancient metaphor builds directly into the mind-blowing reality of modern quantum superposition. In physics labs, the famous double-slit experiment proved that particles can actually exist in multiple places simultaneously until they are observed. They exist as this infinite, boundless wave of potential, just like our doll existing everywhere at once the second she became the whole ocean. It perfectly ties into the one-in-many concept found in these texts, and it's a real light bulb moment when you piece it together. Think of a spider. The creator isn't just a carpenter building a table from the outside with wood. The creator is like a spider, spinning a complex web entirely from its own body. The creator is simultaneously the intelligent architect planning the universe and the actual physical material building blocks themselves. The ocean and the salt doll are made of the exact same essence. There's this amazing ancient story of Mother Yashoda looking into the mouth of the child Krishna and suddenly seeing the entire universe, all the atoms, all the galaxies, present at the exact same time. It's a perfect metaphor for quantum entanglement. You know, that spooky action Einstein was talking about earlier, where deeply connected particles instantly influence each other, no matter how physically far apart they are in the cosmos. The ancients recognized this deeply interconnected cosmic web thousands of years before the math even existed. And why does this matter to us? Because it means the universe we live in is fundamentally connected. Every action you take reverberates through this massive invisible web. So, as our salt doll becomes the ocean, I want to leave you with this final massive question to chew on. Are mystics sitting in deep, silent meditation, and scientists working out incredibly complex math on whiteboards, simply using two completely different vocabularies to describe the exact same, deeply interconnected universe? It really makes you reconsider everything we know about reality, doesn't it? Keep exploring, keep questioning everything, and take these concepts with you today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.